Hey everyone, and welcome to a brand new explainer right here on the GAAP Advisors Ind AS Clinic YouTube channel. If you're looking to really master the nuts and bolts of financial reporting, well, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're diving into a fascinating clinical case study. It's actually going to show us how even the most sophisticated financial statements can sometimes completely miss a really basic step.
Now, the foundation for today's explainer is drawn straight from the 228th edition of the Task Weekly newsletter. This is authored by C.A. Monish C. Iyer, who is the director at GAAP Advisors. If you haven't seen it, it's an incredible resource for technical accounting knowledge published over on LinkedIn. In fact, there have been 231 editions published till date. Today, we're just going to unpack one of its most illuminating recent observations.
But, real quick, before we jump into diagnosing today's case, I do need to give a brief disclaimer. The views expressed in this explainer are entirely the personal views of the author. They're not binding on you in any way, as we all know financial reporting is super nuanced. So please, always seek the help of a qualified expert before taking or even refraining from any action based on what we talk about today.
All right, let's get into it. I want you to take a second and honestly ask yourself, are your published financial statements hiding a basic compliance error right in plain sight? You know, auditors, CFOs, audit committee chairpersons, they sign off on these massive documents, right? They spend hours and hours on complex revenue models. And yet, sometimes these fundamental formatting rules mandated by the Companies Act just kind of slip right through the cracks. It happens.
To see exactly how this happens, we're basically stepping into the role of an industry watchdog. Today's observation actually comes from the published Ind AS financial statements of a listed company. These were downloaded and reviewed by GAAP Advisors on a suo motu basis. By performing a real, clinical diagnosis on actual published data, we get to see firsthand where the practical application of these rules goes off track.
Okay, let's look at the evidence. Take a look at this actual snippet from our patient's statement of profit and loss. Guide your eyes over to the right side of the table. Look at the revenue from operations. It's reported as $1,551,550,944. Do you notice anything specific about that number? These figures are presented in exact Indian rupees. Make sure to keep that visual locked in your mind, because presenting exact Indian rupees is the primary symptom we're diagnosing today.
The really crucial point here is understanding the scale of this company. If we convert that exact revenue figure, we get a current period turnover of approximately 155 crores in Indian rupees. And this number, 155 crores, is our critical diagnostic threshold. Under Indian accounting regulations, the size of the company literally dictates exactly how financial figures have to be presented. This isn't just an aesthetic preference, guys. It is a hard and fast legal requirement that puts this company into a very specific regulatory bracket.
Let's check out the actual regulatory text that governs this whole thing. We're looking at Clause 5 of the General Instructions for Preparation of Financial Statements of a Company required to comply with Ind AS. You'll find this tucked within Division 2 of Schedule 3 to the Companies Act 2013. This clause acts as a strict formatting mandate. It explicitly states that, depending upon the turnover of the company, the figures appearing in the financial statements shall be rounded off. Notice it doesn't say they may be rounded off, it specifically says shall.
Here is exactly how that rounding off is supposed to work. For smaller companies, ones with a turnover of less than 100 crore rupees, they have to round off to the nearest hundreds, thousands, lakhs, or millions. But for larger entities, those with a turnover of 100 crore rupees or more, the rules strictly mandate rounding off to the nearest lakhs, millions, or crores. Remember our patient's turnover from earlier? At 155 crores, they fall squarely into this larger bracket on the right.
So with that rule firmly in mind, let's look at those exact figures one more time. As a company with a turnover greater than 100 crores, they were legally required to round off to the nearest lakhs, millions, or crores. Yet, as we can clearly see here, they reported 1,581,893,454 exact Indian rupees. This presentation directly contradicts the regulatory requirement. No way around it.
Which brings us to our final clinical verdict. Because the company failed to round off its figures to the nearest lakhs, millions, or crores, despite having a turnover well over 100 crores, it is perceived that the company has not complied with the requirements of Division 2 of Schedule 3 to the Companies Act 2013. Sure, it's a simple formatting error at its core, but in the highly regulated sphere of statutory financial reporting, an error sitting right there in plain sight is a direct non-compliance with the Companies Act.
But hey, diagnosing a problem is only half the battle, right? If you're sitting there wondering how to ensure that you or maybe your clients never make this kind of oversight, you absolutely need to check out the issue repository hosted on GAAPadvisors.com. This database is an amazing resource. It contains over 4,500 real-world issues and their detailed technical responses covering both Ind AS and Indian GAAP.
Getting access to this wealth of knowledge is honestly so easy. Any person can register for free at GAAPadvisors.com. Once you're registered, you can actually submit your own specific issues regarding Ind AS or Indian GAAP and get a highly detailed, technically sound response delivered straight to the email you registered with. This is incredibly useful for auditors who, as we know, need to rigorously document exactly how they addressed any issue relating to the application of Ind AS. Having a written response directly from GAAP Advisors, it is the perfect way to fortify your audit file.
So, how do we prevent the exact error we saw today from happening to you? Well, if you're an auditor, a CFO, or an audit committee chairman, you hold the ultimate responsibility. Get your financial statements comprehensively reviewed by the experts at GAAP Advisors before you ever sign them. The process is super simple. Just prepare your financial statements in a near-to-publishing PDF format and submit that PDF by email to info@gaapadvisors.com. Let a fresh set of expert eyes catch those hidden errors before they become public records.
And that brings us to the end of today's Clinical Explainer. We've seen just how easy it is for fundamental rounding rules to be missed, and much more importantly, exactly how you can ensure it doesn't happen to your company. Thank you so much for your time and focus today. If you found this breakdown helpful, please hit that like button, add your thoughts or questions in the comments section below, and definitely make sure you subscribe to the GAAP Advisors and IS Clinic channel if you're not already subscribed. Until next time, ask yourself what other minor details might be hiding in your latest financial statements. Keep your focus sharp, and I'll see you in the next explainer.